That moment still haunts everyone who attended Vu's funeral. The shrouded corpse twisted violently, spewing black blood across the floor as people screamed and fled in panic. Only a few were frozen in fear, sitting on the floor as the candlelit house filled with smoke and dread. After vomiting all the black blood, Vu trembled and held onto the bed frame, rising slowly with wide, glaring eyes. He stared at the terrified crowd and spoke 3 times, each word heavy like a curse. "The saint sent me back." Then he collapsed unconscious. Secretary Juan tore up the death certificate with his own hands. After returning from death, Vu isolated himself, eating only plain rice and sesame salt for months. He locked himself in the backyard shed, refused to see anyone, not even relatives. Villagers thought it was a miracle at first, but later believed he had lost his mind. Suddenly, Vu reappeared clean, dressed in white, preaching strange doctrines under the banyan tree. Vu claimed the saint whispered to him, revealing the past and the future. He said he could cure incurable diseases and guide people to salvation. Vu gathered disciples who believed the world would end in the year 2000. Only those who followed the saint's teachings could escape bloodshed and suffering. Secretary Juan thought no one in the poor village cared about anything but survival. But he forgot that poverty breeds fear, and fear gives birth to belief. Before Vu's rise, strange things were already happening in Tonha. Cattle stopped eating, laying motionless as if drained of life. Rumors spread about a haunted village well and strange noises in the night. The well had existed for generations, its water never drying up. Locals believed it connected to ancient underground springs or something deeper. But ever since a pregnant girl drowned herself there, the well turned eerie. People said they heard crying near the well or saw a woman washing her hair at dawn. It was believed to be the ghost of the pregnant girl who took her life there. Officials investigated but found nothing unusual, and the rumors faded. But as cattle began dying again, whispers about the haunted well returned stronger than ever. One evening, an ex-soldier named Mr. Han went to the well, feeling thirsty after his rounds. As he bent to drink from the well, he heard strange splashing sounds from the other side. Turning around, he saw a naked woman with long hair, standing in the moonlight. Her voice called out to him, asking him to join her in the water, but Mr. Han ran in terror. Mr. Han later confessed to his terrifying experience near the well to his friends. He spoke of the woman's voice calling him and how he felt like he was being drawn toward the water. The villagers dismissed his story as a nightmare, but deep down, they started to worry. Soon, more people claimed to hear strange voices and see figures near the well at night. One night, a villager named Mr. Howe decided to investigate the well himself. As he approached, the moonlight revealed a woman standing by the edge, her face obscured by wet hair. Suddenly, she turned and smiled eerily, as if beckoning him to come closer. Frozen in place, Mr. Howe was unable to move, feeling as though he was under her spell. The next morning, Mr. Howe was found lying unconscious by the well, his face pale and his eyes. He couldn't remember what happened, only that he heard the woman's voice calling him into the water. The villagers gathered and debated what to do, some believing it was a curse, others convinced it was madness. But the strange occurrences continued, and people grew more fearful of the well's dark secrets. One night, Mr. Juan visited the well, trying to find answers to the strange happenings in the village. He stood at the edge, peering into the depths, when he suddenly felt a cold hand touch his shoulder. Spinning around, he saw a pale figure in white, her face hidden beneath long wet hair. Before he could react, she whispered in his ear, "You are next." Mr. Juan was shaken, but he returned to the village, haunted by the warning. He couldn't tell anyone about the encounter, but the fear in his heart grew stronger each day. That night, a strange fog rolled over the village, and the well seemed to be calling him back. The villagers could hear soft whispers in the wind, urging them to come closer to the well. As the villagers gathered near the well, a cold wind swept through, extinguishing their lanterns. The woman's figure appeared once again, this time standing in the middle of the well's stone circle. Her eyes glowed in the dark and her voice echoed in the wind. It's too late. With that, the earth trembled and the village was consumed by darkness. Soft wind, distant echoing hum, as the lantern flowed deeper into the mist. To be continued.